what it is your staff have, and then we can actually precisely develop to a mold, like with precision. Same thing for MR. I think MR is in India. GMs. They change their GMs from a 2-year rollout to 1 year. So we went through their entire pool of employees, and we can actually see who are the employees. Even if you're like wait staff, we can pick up on things that you have that within a year we can get you there. PwC was our very first client. When we rolled out the technology in September, PwC licensed our patents for all of their learning and development programs now. So many of you who want to go into consulting, this is all stuff that's happening there in consulting right now. This is what a competency grid looks like. Do you guys take psychometrics when you come in to IIM? No? Okay. They need to. So this is a company here in Gurgaon, in Fido. Young CEO, 23 years old, 2 dorm mates. They have a chat bot called Amber, and we competency mapped their organization for them, and they authorized us to use this. So it came up that if you look on the conclusions, they were very high on willingness to learn, innovation, and taking responsibility. But at the very bottom, they were losing their workforce, because what your top qualities is always in conflict with your bottom qualities, things, and everyone was just stressed out, so they're just losing employees. So if you don't know what your competencies are, they don't know what to develop for. So if I know that you have an environment that's very stressed out, I would push learning and development in soft skills, mindfulness, emotional IQ, judgment and decision making. I actually know what it is I'm looking for. Respecting instructions, I'll probably push some leadership modules to you. So your learning becomes very specific based on your filters, because I'm picking up your filters here. Do you see that? Here's how companies now that you're all going to be working for, and we're going to get to identity and the skills you're going to develop, and I am going to try and scare you a little bit with the technology that's out there, because you need to realize what's happening out there now. This is actually what a company dashboard looks like. So you go into an organization, and basically it says, these are my top tail performers, these are my bottom tails. It shows up on a dashboard. And here's where I need development. And this is here in India. So I know how you guys, you used to say years ago, it will take time before it comes to India. India is ahead of the game now. India is leading the way in many of these things. Same thing on a dashboard for groups. So you know how traditional career paths, you start at a level and you go up? You're familiar with WeWork, right? So WeWork, Tesla, LinkedIn, Unilever, they now work in a way, it's called a holacracy. I don't know how you pronounce it there's an Indian way of pronouncing it. I call it a holacracy. Holocracy. It's circles. I'm just going to bring together the skills that I need for projects, and then they dismantle and go within a company. And right now, LinkedIn, Tesla, and Unilever are all using the same pool of employees. So that whole thing of I'm working for one company for 30 years, it's your skills that's coming together now in these circles in terms of working together. Most learning and development now is going to happen by chatbot. Very personalized, micro learning. How many of you use chats? Do you use chats here? No. For any kind of learning? No? How many of you actually stick with any online learning? Do you do any online learning? Some? How long do you stay with it? Four to 5 months? Oh, 4 to 5 hours per week. Yeah, because regular digital learning, the retention is just 10%. Even if you take a Harvard class or an MIT class, or it's because there's no community. So what a chatbot does is it gives you a sense of a coach, a community that you're speaking with. So this is where learning and development. Now we're going to get to the skills that all of you were talking about. So these are the 10 skills we focus on at the foundation, and also and these are skills that come from the World Economic Forum. We went through all of them, the PC21, collaboration, creative thinking, critical thinking, entrepreneurship, leadership, self-direction, judgment and decision-making, communication, mindfulness, and emotional IQ. Have any of you ever taken a class in any of those things? Okay, this is not raising your hand. How am I going to know? What did you take a class in? So communication. Okay, so in your OB classes, anything else? Okay, all right, so there are, what about at university level? No? So Google performed a study, it's been going on for the last 7 years, and the only predictor, reliable predictor of performance, who were their top performers, was soft skills. It was not your coding degrees, engineering degrees. So your soft skills is going to be the make or break by the time you guys graduate. I'm not saying your hard skills are irrelevant, but they're changing so quickly depending on the industry that you're in. And just how you're making the time and effort on your hard skills, I mean, is anyone working on their soft skills right now, as we speak, in a methodical way, just like you're working on your hard skills? One person? Okay, what are you doing? Tell me. Oh, that's just right now. Okay. I meant as like a class, as how many of you are actually dedicating time and effort daily, weekly? Yes? Okay, but that's not methodical. But good, keep trying. Just how you schedule your going to your management class, that's what I mean. Are any of you scheduling? Yes? Why? I want you to think about that. Cut. 2 questions I'm taking, and then we're wrapping up with my last part. Yes? Do you have a question? You look like you have a question. He looks like I scared him. Yes.
So I'm Ashwin. So my question is
Hello, Ashwin.
Yeah. So my question is
Yeah.
Our brain is very similar to the neural network, right? Which we study in AI. So
Yeah.
once you train a neural network or a brain, it's very hard to reprogram it or change the weights or something inside it.
Nonsense.
So no,
Nonsense.
in my undergraduate, what my prof used to say is like if you trained a neural network in a particular way and
Can you give it to everyone? Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
if you trained your neural net in a particular way and you want to change the weights, then don't try reprogram it. Just create a new neural.
Yes.
net.
So we constantly, that's why microlearning is important. We have the ability consistently to create new neural pathways, right? And a neural pathway is just like, imagine, you know, like a ball with little things coming out. And the way we create it is by repetitive, coming back in microlearning every day, every couple of days, and we keep actually increasing our effort. Right? So you can, that's why the microlearning I just told you on the app, it's 5 minutes a day, and we're actually measuring, that's how we measure it. Qualitatively, it's, are you actually building a new neural pathway?
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, one more question. You had one. Yes, gentleman over here, and then we're going to continue on, and I need the book. It's in here. I have a book in there. Can I get it in my bag? Yeah. Yes. Very dapper.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
So basically, the algorithms that you use in Gleek basically map people's personalities, and it gives expected, actions or steps that people should take.
Yes.
Isn't that also crippling our thoughts and limiting our creativity?
No. So what we actually do is we use behavioral. So we are all made up of 3 core elements. Behavioral tests tells us, which are all of those personality tests. Aptitude, which is what you learn in school. I know how to code, I know whatever. And situational judgment, filters. What Gleek is doing is it's taking the core stuff from here and it's giving you situational judgment to see how you react, and then based on how you react, it will nudge you to look at other things. All it's doing is nudging. In terms of, it's not creating a straight pathway. Your pathway will change completely. So it's a nudging in your situational judgment based on your behavioral. It does not say to you, and you'll see it if you ever do any of the lessons, and I encourage all of you to download it and you will see how it works. It actually says to you, do you want to get uncomfortable today, or do you want to stay in your comfort zone? And it actually starts checking you if you say you want to stay in your comfort zone too long. So let's assume you're really good at critical thinking, or you have a strong in terms of that area, and you might want to be in leadership, entrepreneurship. It will nudge you back over to say, have a look at creativity, have a look at mindfulness, have a look. It will not allow you to stay in your comfort zone. It will nudge you to get uncomfortable. So it's very, very smart that way. And within 30 days, it actually knows if it's even you answering or not. But I like the question. Yes. I just wanted to get my book. It was in the bag. It was in the other bag. It's okay. So let's go on to the next part, and I will wrap up. So how many of you watch Bollywood movies? So this last part, so we had a beginning, a middle, and the end. And this part is, we're going to talk about what it really means to be human. The thing that's going to allow us to thrive, and those of us that is really going to do well, are those of us who become more human. And I thought, there's no better way to show you what humanness looks like than to show you a scene from like the most famous Bollywood movie. So, I do not speak Hindi, but I heard that this is like a very important scene in a movie, and I'm going to put it on for you guys. Can I make sure they get a picture this way? Do I do it? They're going to get a picture this way of the movie, right? Are we ready? Just a little
ये कॉम्प्रोमाइज है कि नहीं? ऐसा मत करो, वेट करो, आएगा, कौन आएगा एक दिन, वेट करो।
मैं प्रॉमिस है मैं सब ठीक कर दूंगी।
तुम्हें समझ नहीं आ रहा? छोड़ो मेरा हाथ।
मैं नहीं जा सकती।
You know this movie? Is this a famous scene? When we're most human, we're our most vulnerable selves. And remember that fear we talked about at the beginning? About robots taking our job even though we have no jobs? That's our most human, vulnerable selves speaking. And when we operate out of fear, we leave the best parts of ourselves at the door. When we walk into class, when we walk into our work. How many of you know for a fact you leave the best parts of yourself at the door most of the time? And what a shame. What an absolute shame that the things that are beautiful about your identity, you're leaving at the door. You know, one of the things, how we start changing that is by challenging and asking ourselves, who am I not? We're so used to asking, who am I going to be? Who do I want to become? And one thing I have learned on my journey is it's the shedding of deciding who I do not want to be. And that question is what actually got me to my identity. So I encourage you to kind of ask that question. And don't have any fear of acting starting today like that person you want to become. You don't need to be a graduate of this school. You don't need to have another degree. You don't need to have 5 years work experience. You don't need to have amounts in your bank account to start acting like who you want to become. Because I promise you that you do it enough. You remember that neural pathway we were talking about? The universe just conspires and allows it to happen. And you literally see things just like falling into place. And all it took was you having the courage to show up in your full identity. So I wanted to end with why I'm actually here today. So in the bag with the bracelets, there was a book. Okay, where is the book? No, the bracelets, the white bag where the bracelets, there was a book in there. Thank you very much. So the reason why I'm here today is because of my feeling, my greatest feeling of success so far. So as a lawyer, I've had many successes. I became a lawyer very young, at 21, and I have 5 degrees, and I speak 5 languages, and people wanted my life, and I did not want my life. And my most successful feeling to date has been walking into a bookstore, being a complete nerd my entire life, and reading always books, and walking into a bookstore and actually seeing my book in the bookshelf, and I just kind of stopped. And I remember the feeling, which I hope for every single one of you in this room, of just like knowing that this is what success feels like. And the reason I bring it up is it's one of the reasons that brought me here today, because I read Debashi's book 6 years ago. My dad had just passed away. I did not know him. It was the leadership lessons of the Bhagavad Gita. Never read the Bhagavad Gita. And I reached out to you, and he responded back. And when I wrote my book, I asked him, and we had never met. This is the first time we're meeting, ever. And I asked him, can you do a testimonial for me on my book? And he did. And he wrote, this book is a visual delight. It is inspirational. The author weaves together rare insights that is felt in the heart. This book is like a dazzling crystal that reflects the many facets of the human condition. The book is a quintessential life itself. So now for the first time, I would like to give you a copy of the book. Come. I'll give you a hug. Thank you. There you go. Good. I will autograph it for you. And we're going to end on this note here. So all of you got bracelets. Some of you did. Who got bracelets with a logo on it? Like the logo is in white. Raise your hand. Right? I didn't know there was going to be like 400 of you. They only told me it was like 200. So I will send for all of you. So those of you who have white logos, raise your hands. Let's see them. We're going to get a picture eventually with everyone with their bracelets. So this is how most of us go out in life. We go out in life with like loud logos. Okay, this guy wears fashionable stuff. He has this degree. That's how we show up in life, with these logos, judging each other. How many of you got bracelets with no logos on it, but these like a tiny little engraving? And you can't really see, right? But you can feel it. That, and I want you guys to listen to this really, really carefully. That's how it feels, and that's how easy it is to miss when people show up fully. What it is to be human. It's subtle. And too often we're so busy distracted by the logos. Who are my logos in the room? That we miss the subtleness of just being present in humanness. So my desire for every single one of you today as I end is that each and every one of you become more human. I am counting on it. The world is counting on it. Do I have a commitment from all of you? Yes. And on that note, we will end. Thank you. Any last questions? No, we're good. Okay. Got pictures from behind with my phone? Not on your phone, I want some phone ones also. And I want one with the bracelet. Okay. We'll call them off. On the phone. You have my phone, right? Yeah. There, I'll just get the this. Here, go down and come back up. No.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sallyann, for this wonderful experience. Your helping hand comes at the right moment when all these students are overwhelmed and are trying to fit into this course and this institution. I'd now like to invite our director, sir, Professor Debashish Chatterjee, to please address the batch.
I believe that this is a school for leaders. You can't be a leader unless you are vulnerable, and you cannot be invincible unless you are vulnerable. Vulnerability is not a weakness, it is our human condition. I think our greatest growth happens when you are kids, when you are the most vulnerable. Your learning curve is the most intense. I can't thank Sallyann enough to take time off from what would be a very remunerative hour, financially much more rewarding hour if she were to spend this in Dubai or someplace else. But the fact that she chose to be here to spend some time with our students, to just give you a little bit of a inkling of what might happen if you were to really take this arduous journey a little seriously. And if you were to craft and design yourself in a manner that you're ready and prepared for the world, to take on the world and exceed the expectations that you have of yourself. This is our most ardent wish in this institution. Your faculty and I will be striving to bring such extraordinary achievers, eminent minds from across. I began with Invincible Arjuna, and Sallyann followed with what she can do so brilliantly, and at her best, she can really plant in your hearts and minds seeds of some things that will take a lifelong to fructify. But these are very important seeds to plant. Following this, we'll have Kiran Bedi and then Vijay Amritraj, two icons of India who will be here, right here on this stage. So the idea is to kind of give you, beyond your career and curriculum concerns, another concern, which is how do you evolve as a person? Not just as a professional, not just how much money you make, but what makes you so unique, so capable. And that evolution is concurrent with whatever is happening in class, your grades and your marks and remarks that shape your identity. There is another identity, which is what do you create? Not what you make, but what you create. And there's a difference between making and creating. Making is robotic, mechanical, conditioned. Creating is utterly human. We were not made or manufactured in a hospital. We were created. We were born. I still remember Kapil Dev was asked this question, when was your greatest break? He said, the fact that I was born and my mother can't create another Kapil Dev. That is the point that I'm trying to make. You were born, you were created. And the onus on you is to create something beautiful for the world, whether it's an industry you create or work of art or you create employment opportunities for people. This is the stuff of our aspiration and our dreams, and I hope you live up to it. The way to say thank you to Sallyann is not through sporadic applause, but the one only I am Kozhikode can do. So can we do what I would like to describe it as a 16 inches applause, which means your hands have to be separated from each other by 16 inches, and whatever comes out of that, please stand up and give her a standing ovation. I would appreciate that.
I now request Ms. Sallyann to please accept a small gift from Professor Debashish. Guys, there's tea and snacks arranged outside. You can go have them. Whoever wants to have an informal chat with Ms. Sallyann can do that.